That's not us, obviously. Okay, so
Yeah. Something.
Something you want to tell
it
us?
says
Ed?
up there.
Okay, got it.
And is that live up there?
It says it, yep. Okay, should be good.
And good. Maybe take her computer with you. Okay, we're live and
So good afternoon, everybody. We would like to call the council meeting, Victoria County Municipal Council meeting for February 21st to order. Just prior to opening the meeting, we wish to welcome and we would like to acknowledge that this meeting is held in Unama'ki, one of the 7 traditional districts of the Mi'kma'ki and ancestral and unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq people. So with that, the agenda has been circulated to you. Are there any additions or deletions to the agenda? I just want to make one quick note that we had an in-camera session just prior to council, and we will be reconvening that in-camera session for a few minutes after council adjourns today. So with that, no additions or deletions, then I would ask for a motion to accept the agenda as circulated. It's moved by Councillor Longa, seconded by Deputy Warden. All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary-minded? The motion is carried. The agenda has been approved with the noted addition. So the next item on our agenda, we would like to welcome from Build Nova Scotia, who were formerly Develop Nova Scotia. I believe we have with us today Kelly Rose and Kevin Klein. And welcome to the deck virtually, and welcome to the Victoria County. Nice to have you to attend council this afternoon. And I'm assuming that you have a presentation that you're going to take us through, and then we'll proceed. Am I correct, or are you just open for questions? You tell me what you're.
Kevin and I prepared a short deck that we can go through, and then certainly we're open to any questions after that.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Kelly. So we're going to turn it over to you. If you would share your screen with us. You can see all of us that are here. So we have 8 councillors and the CAO in the meeting this afternoon. We have some staff members here, and we have a visitor in the gallery as well. So just so you know who you're addressing and doing your presentation for. And we may have some people online, and if they have any questions, we'll ask their questions on their behalf at the end of the presentation, if there are any. So we'll turn it over to you, Kelly or Kevin, whoever is going to proceed.
Okay, I'm just going to share my screen here. Just give me 1 sec. Here. Bear with me 1 sec. I just have to change a setting on my laptop. 1 sec here. We often use Microsoft Teams, so we're going to switch around to Zoom here for 1 sec.
Sure, you have lots of time. Take your time. Or
All right, let's see if that works for me. Share screen. Let's try that. Can you folks see that okay?
yes, we can.
All right. Hey, Kelly, you want to kick us off and I'll drive for now?
That sounds good. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much for the invitation to provide an update to Victoria County. I know we've met, I think many of you, and spoken to some of you in the past, and we have regular correspondence from some folks as well. So it's nice to all be in the room virtually together. So as I mentioned, Kevin and I put together a few slides, and we realize most of you have a background on the file, but we just thought that, just kind of top of mind. And as was mentioned, we're now Build Nova Scotia. This happened in December, just of this past year. In terms of the Internet for Nova Scotia initiative, things are still rolling along. Nothing has changed in that. We're still overseeing that on behalf of the province. So just wanted to reassure you on that. So as you know, when this initiative was announced, the provincial goal was to reach as close to 100% of Nova Scotian homes and businesses as possible. This was done with an initial investment of $193 million. Our role has been all along to help lead the strategy, recommend projects to the trust, which is an independent trust. They ultimately make the decision on the investments that go back into the project. And we also manage service delivery agreements with the internet service providers, which Kevin will touch on in a few minutes. So we've been overseeing the implementation of solutions right across the province. And as many of you know, because we've been sharing some information over the last number of months, we're also now leading the satellite internet service rebate program as well, which I'll touch on a little bit later. So you have that information. So our overall approach, again, we say it was to reach 95%, but we're now very close to 100% once the projects are complete. The focus was on the outcomes, so it was providing reliable high-speed internet to as many homes and businesses as possible. It wasn't necessarily on the technology. Now, obviously, wired and fiber is the key technology that is being used in the projects right across, but we also have some fixed wireless, and as well, satellite has become part of that. And all of these must meet or exceed, and in many cases they are exceeding the minimum CRTC speeds, which are noted here for both wired and wireless. This is the same for satellite. And in terms of the internet service providers, we work with them constantly to help mitigate, whether there's pressures on timelines or Mother Nature, things come up with Mother Nature and things have to shift. So we're in constant contact with them. There's checks and balances in place. And it's also about a longer term delivery. So as I mentioned, Kevin will touch on a service delivery agreement, but essentially it's not that we're just cutting a check, passing it over and walking away. There's elements in place over the next number of years to ensure that, once projects are complete, there's still some work happening and upgrades, and we're keeping up to speed, so to speak. And this is just an overview. We went out early on in the project to find pre-qualified providers. So these have not changed. There's 15 overall. We have projects with large providers like Bell and Eastlink, certainly a number of the small, providers like Across Country or Mainland Seaside, obviously, which many Cape Bretoners would know, including myself. And then, Starlink, of course, with the satellite option that we're now offering.
I can take this one, Kelly. Yeah, so Kelly mentioned the 10-year service delivery agreement that we have. So this is so once the builds are all complete and all the projects are signed off, and we accept the completion date at the end, we then start this 10-year clock with these guys, with all the ISPs, where every quarter they have to submit a report back to us, just to indicate what kind of performance they're getting as far as like speeds, like how fast their downloads are and their uploads, and all the different parameters in there, latency times, jitter, so all these technical pieces. They have to meet within a certain threshold. We also look at their customer service, so how long it takes to service the customer, to get them up and running, to repair, so the mean time to repair. The scalability, we want to make sure that the networks they built are able to, so 50 meg might be good today, but in 5 years time, the standard might go up to 300 meg, who knows. So we want to make sure that they're scaling the network to meet the demand. And also pricing. So one of the things we set up in the beginning was they can't disadvantage folks that are in the rural areas by charging higher price. So all the prices have to sort of basically stay the same across the board. And we wanted to make sure that the prices are in line with what you see in sort of the larger centers and whatnot, where there's more competition. So as far as an update in overall, so where we are as of probably last week now, so we're at about just a little over 70,000 homes and businesses now have access to the services of the 92,500 that were announced so far. So we're getting there. The ones that are left are the more difficult ones in these areas that just require more work, and they're sort of further out from the center and so on. So there's more make ready work, which we'll touch on in a minute, and there's just it's more expensive the further out you get. With the satellite rebate program, so we initially launched the satellite rebate program just to address there's roughly 3,700 homes and businesses out there that didn't have any access to any terrestrial service, and so they were satellite only. And what we've done is we've extended that satellite rebate program to fill in the gaps between the 71.5 and the 92.5 here, so that anyone that doesn't have a project completed right now can get access to the satellite rebate, sort of as an interim measure. And then we look at the amount that was invested. I think this might be able to repeat from before, but the amount of money that's been invested from the trust so far, and leverage a significant amount from the private sector, from namely Bell. I think we do have smaller projects out there, but the lion's share is through Bell Canada with a lot of fiber. So specific to Victoria County, so we've got some projects are complete there, so you can see them listed down the side there, and where we're at. So we're at what? I made some notes here. So we're at about 60% complete in Victoria County, and these remaining ones are in some more troublesome areas, which require, again, more work to get to. So you can see the amount of numbers that are remaining. We use the term HUs, housing units. So that's a term that we came up with to basically represent a home or a business, sort of a catch-all term. So like Meat Cove, for example, there's 21 locations there that are still without service, and then the expected completion dates. So a lot of the completion dates are kind of towards the end of this year, but we expect to have the entire project wrapped up by the end of 2023, and then we'll be at 100%. So it's we're getting close. So I mentioned the project challenges, and the biggest challenges that we have out there are what we call make ready work, and this is performed by Nova Scotia Power and their contractors. So I'm sure many of you have driven along and seen these old poles on the side of the road that are just dilapidated and they're falling apart. So when we go to put new fiber, or when Bell goes to put new fiber on these poles, those poles have to come out and have to be replaced. So they have to, go through and check every one of these poles to make sure that they can support the weight of the new fiber and so on. If they have to come out, they got to come out and they have to be replaced. In some cases, there's additional guy wires that have to be attached to the poles to secure the poles better. There's also the tree trimming that you'll see, like all the underbrush that grows underneath the pole line. All that's got to be trimmed back, which and we know this from Fiona, that it's not always done. these trees fall over and these branches fall over and they take the power out. So it's a major exercise to go through and clean up all this undergrowth and so on. Some of the other things that we deal with are what we call grade 1 crossings. So wherever the fiber has to cross, like a rail line or a 100 series highway or a water crossing, they require a special set of permits and whatnot. So you have to go through a process with NSP again, and it's a little more exhaustive and so on. And their NSP has a limited amount of resources to actually go out and do this work. So you can see some of the steps below here that namely Bell has taken on to sort of mitigate some of these challenges. So they're looking at putting some additional contractors in with to help with some of this work to get up, and there's certain, when they say this hotline work, so they need the technicians need certain certifications to get up and actually work around the power lines and so on. They're looking at in some cases they can bury cables where it makes sense, and they actually go around NSP's pole line, like they'll actually dig a trench and bury the fiber. We mentioned those grade 1 crossings. So Bell will go back and sort of look, and maybe there's a different way, a different path that the network can take to actually get around having to cross over a water crossing. Maybe they can go around it some way and route the network a different way. They're looking at now actually boring underneath the 100 series highways, which is great because it's hard to it's hard to interrupt a signal if it's buried underground. You don't have to worry about trees knocking it over and whatnot. So they're looking at any of these areas where they can take advantage of burying the doing a conduit and running the fiber that way. Just other things like making sure that any permits that Bell applies for are sit at the top of the pile, which we've done here through our connections to make sure that, again, any permits that come in that they get priority access and the permits get back quickly. And then another big one that's going to come up pretty soon is the spring weight restrictions on some of these old roads. I mean, when the Power Commission and Bell go into these unpaved roads, they have some fairly large equipment that goes in there, and it can play havoc on these roads. So there's weight restrictions that go on for a couple of months. So we're just seeing if we can work around that. Maybe they can use some lighter vehicles to go to certain areas and whatnot, and maybe see if they can get exempt from some of these areas. Cell coverage. So that's a hot topic. So as of right now, Build Nova Scotia does not have a mandate to actually go out and fix the cell coverage, but we have gone out and we've done a study to go out and identify where all the gaps are. So we know where all the dead spots are. We've basically done drive testing throughout the entire province to and sample the signals and so on. So we know where the gaps are. The next thing we're working on is a strategy. So how do we fill those gaps? Are we looking at getting 100% coverage right across the entire province, or are we just looking at filling in sort of along the roads or where the residences are and so on? So how do we best approach this thing? But a key thing is the amount of fiber infrastructure that we've built throughout these projects. Like, it's roughly 12,000 kilometers of new fiber it's on the pole, so that'll help us access these cell sites. And one of the larger costs is the backhaul from one cell site to another and whatnot. And if we have the fiber if the fiber assets are there, then it certainly makes it a lot easier and more cost effective for the ISPs or the operators to get there. Kelly, do you want to take that one, the website?
Sure. And Steph, I saw your note. Yes, I'll certainly send a copy of the PowerPoint out after our call, so you can share it with whoever might like a copy. So just wanted to take a few minutes to touch on. So this is our main Internet Initiative website, which I'm sure many of you are familiar with. This is where we provide information on the different project areas. We update timelines as we get new information. If there's a reason why something may be delayed a bit further and we have a specific, some specific information on it, we'll add that there. We've interchanged that with the satellite internet rebate site, so it's easy for people to go back and forth. I did want to mention one thing in terms of internet access. So we give you general timelines of a project area, but often individual addresses may have access before the full project area is complete. So I think that's really important for people to know that. It's not a matter of, when the whole project area is complete, then the provider goes in and flips the switch. It's if they can add 5 or 50 or 100 as they go along, they do that. And Bell, for example, they'll often do some outreach to potential customers and then once access is available, that gets entered into their customer care center. So I know sometimes people get frustrated because they'll call Bell and say, I hear I'm getting it. I'm not sure when, can you tell me, or is it ready now? Unless it's actually entered into the system, and that's when access is available and people could actually start to get more information and schedule an installation date. That's when that information is available. So it's to come for some people, but at that point it is available. So it doesn't mean that they're not in a project area or whatever. And that's why they can reach out to us. We can at least clarify with them what project area they're in, the information we have to date, and certainly, of course, talk to them about satellite, the rebate program, which is a really good interim solution for some people as they wait for access to come. And this is just an example, again, just to give the name of a project area with some notes. There's maps and so on as well, and we clarify what those mean. We put frequently asked questions and some news and so on. And so the rebate program, as Kevin mentioned, that initially opened up this past summer to the approximately 3,700 locations that we knew we couldn't, at least at that point, reach by any tangible fixed wireless or wired solutions. So this would give people, up a one-time up to $1,000 rebate if they're interested. I mentioned the satellite provider has to meet the minimum CRTC speeds, which currently is Starlink. If other providers come online and they can offer the same, we would open it up. It's not that we went out purposely choosing Starlink, for example. So this has expanded since then and now includes anybody who currently doesn't have high speed. So even if you're in a project area, for example, in your area, it's coming, but we can provide the satellite option for you. And then once access is available, you can certainly switch. So if Bell's coming online and access is available to fiber and you want to be done with satellite, you have that choice. You can switch to fiber. Some people may decide to stay. It depends on what they feel works best for them, but it gives people an option. So currently across the province, there's around 36,000 that are eligible. Uptake and interest is certainly very strong. Uptake's, getting stronger and stronger. We're hoping to do some more targeted outreach in the coming weeks or month or so. We'll work with your offices. We'll make sure you have some information that you can more easily share, do some targeted advertising and so on, just to, so people are aware of this as an option for them as they wait for fiber to come their way. And again, I mentioned this is very similar to our other site, but we have basically an eligibility finder. Sometimes we hear from people that, their address may not be showing, so we can help clarify. It could be that it's a new build or, whatever the reason is. So we'll work with them to better understand. And we certainly add new addresses all the time. The province continues to grow. So we know that that's right now, we're going to hear from people. But it's quite simple. You can go in, just start to search by your civic address. If you're eligible, it'll pull it up. There's information here on how it works that you can have emailed to yourself for reference as you go along, because you may not be ready to apply that day. The application form is online, but we can certainly also mail this information out if anybody's, doesn't have good access or they're not comfortable applying online. That's an option as well. So the application form is quite straightforward. We've streamlined it now a couple of times as we work through some things, and we can certainly answer questions as people go along as well. And I just wanted to touch on, before we wrap up on this part, just a few questions we often get, and you may get them as well in your respective areas. But with the satellite application, we do ask for a social insurance number. And that is because the trust is an independent body, and they're actually the ones who essentially sign the checks. They're issuing the funds. So this is all to do with the CRA. So it's the way it's designed. It's the requirement that it has to be reported. The information is kept confidential online. It's not shared anywhere. It's simply there. We just need to capture it. So we certainly we understand people may wonder that, and we're working harder to make sure that information comes out more easily so people know. But that's why we do ask for it. And as I mentioned, we often hear from people, are there other qualified satellite providers? Again, currently it is Starlink. If others come on board and can meet or exceed that, we would certainly look at opening that up. And another one, just in terms of the overall project, we hear from people, they've done some work in our area and then they haven't been back, and they feel like they might be forgotten or that they've missed them. And that's not the case. It's just to help projects stay on track. So crews may move around from project area to project area. It really depends on the type of work that needs to be done. And all areas can be a little bit different. You might be waiting for permits in one area, so you're not going to stop your crew. You're going to move them somewhere else if they can do some make ready work or run lines or whatever it is. So it's just to keep the project moving overall. And again, when I mentioned, some people think fiber, it looks like it's there, it's right there. So how, am I ready to get access? And that's the final step in the process. So there's a lot of work that often has to happen downstream, and different types of equipment, back office support and so on, that needs to be in place before that point comes along where you can actually provide access. So I think that's it, Kevin, for us.
Yeah.
That's it for us. So yeah, so again, I'll send this to Steph after the meeting, and of course, we're certainly open for questions. There's contact information on both of our websites, so people can call or email us, whatever works best for them if they have specific questions or about their location. And I did want to mention, one of our colleagues joined, Leanne Jennings. She's a regional lead, which I know many of you have worked with. She works on different projects in Cape Breton, so she joined us just as we were getting underway.
Great. Thank you very much for the presentation. We're just going to wait till you come back on the screen, if that's okay. There, thank you.
Yep.
I know there are several questions that we have. I guess that's why we asked you to come and do a presentation and provide some information. So since you can't see us, I'm going to just ask the counselors to certainly give their name and their district so that you're familiar with the area that they are representing. And perhaps we'll start on the right-hand side of my right-hand side. So Deputy Warden, if you want to start us off, please.
No, thank you, Warden, and thank you, Kelly, Kevin, Leanne. Appreciate your time and coming forward to council to express where you guys are at with the project. Things are going extremely well in Ingonish. Thanks very much. I know you're showing that we're totally complete, and I believe we are, as to my knowledge. Just two issues, and one's more of a Bell issue, is that some people that have the full package with the telephone with the Bell fiber internet, when the power goes out, they lose their telephone. I don't know, is that a common occurrence, or is there any way around that, I guess, is my first question.
Yeah, so what happened is, so back in the days where it was copper, your phone was basically powered from the central office, right? Now everything is fiber. So once you lose power to that fiber modem that's in your house, sort of everything drops. Bell used to include a backup battery in their a few years ago, and it would give you 15, 20 minutes of sort of reserve power. So if the power went off, your phone would still work for a bit. They don't do that anymore. I don't know why they took that away, but so what you can do is you can pick up like any sort of UPS from Staples sort of thing and plug that into the fiber modem that's the router that's plugged in there, and that will give you backup. There might be I seem to remember seeing something on the Bell site in reference to that, specifically how to hook it up and everything else, which I can double check and see if we can find that. But that's basically the reason is why this thing it's all fiber now. So like you say, when the power goes out and that sort of the fiber modem, because everything's in one box now, right? Like so the whole home hub, whatever they call it now, is got your TV, your phone, your internet. It's all in this one box, and when that one box loses power, you're out.
Okay.
Unfortunately.
No, that's great. At least I know there is an option. I'll mention that to the few people that mentioned about the UPS. Maybe we'll help give them a little bit, but usually when we have a power outage, lately it's been a couple of days. So, but
yeah, I hear you.
yeah. The second thing is, like I say, things are working well in Ingonish, but there is actually, it's one of the residents in Jackie's area that twice now he's been 2 to 3 weeks without service because the line came down. It seems like it's extremely hard to get Bell back into the area to actually reconnect a line once it's down. Are you finding that across the province, or is that a situation that's hopefully can be solved?
We haven't heard, so that would be a service. So we'd want to track that. Again, from these SDA agreements we have with them, like they're supposed to be held to I think it's a 7-day mean time to repair now. So they've got to repair these things in a pretty quickly.
Yes.
So if it's down for an extended period of time, like that's not good. You can't be without access to 911 and whatnot for that long. If you have any particular residents that you can maybe shoot over to us, we can follow up with Bell on that, because that should not happen.
Well, that'd be greatly appreciated. We'll get you the contact information and the exact dates and stuff for you,
Okay.
and I'll forward that information on to you. Thanks very much.
Great.
That's great. Thank you again.
Thank you, Deputy. District number 4, perhaps just to give your name and area so that the folks know where you're referring to.
Barbara Long, the counselor for District 4, and that goes from the foot of Smoky to the Seal Island Bridge and to the Bell Museum and all area in between. Thanks for your presentation. The area you have St. Anne's there, which communities, do you know which communities are under your St. Anne's heading there?
Sure. I have to pull it up on my map here.
I just wondered if Wreck Cove, because there's nothing for Wreck Cove, Indian Brook, Tarbot, North River, none of those areas.
Let's see here. St. Anne's, just bear with me 1 second. Just going to reference my big map here. And what we've done on our website too is there's a community search, so you can search for community on our website and it'll bring it up. Let me just see here. So St. Anne's.
Yeah, one of the other counselors looked it up and it's, there's quite a few communities listed under the St. Anne's heading.
Yeah.
It probably does include like Wreck Cove. We don't have it in my area as far as I know. Like if I had it, wouldn't somebody contact me and say, do you want to hook into this? Or
If there's someone that they feel they're not in the project area, they can absolutely get a hold of us, like through you or whatever, and we can take a look if we've overlooked someone. When I'm looking at the map I have now, so from St. Anne's, sort of all the way south St. Anne's, all up through, Englishtown, like as far up to what? Little River, North Shore. Like it's pretty extensive. So I'd be surprised if we missed anybody.
I don't think anyone in that area has it. Yes.
Well, not yet. So it's not complete yet. So that project's still on the go. So what they can do is what we've offered satellite service out to them, so they can go and get the Starlink satellite as a temporary measure until the fiber's hooked up. So we're still that St. Anne's project's not finished yet.
Okay. Also, you said something that when all this is the fiber opposite, that's going to help the cell service in some way.
Yeah. So there's the fiber optic goes into your house, but that fiber has got to go along the highways and up through all the side roads and everything else to actually reach these residents. So, by having these new fiber assets, on the poles and in the ground and everything else, that should help when we go to put a new satellite or a new cellular site up there, the backhaul, the network that actually gets those signals from the tower back to the main sort of switching hub is already in the ground. It's already there. So that's the goal to have, now that we've got, so many new fiber assets out there that hopefully that'll make that piece a little easier to, if we were to go to plug a new tower up in St. Anne's, for example, up in the town, we already have a bunch of new fiber assets in that town that we can use to backhaul that cell signal away. That makes sense?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Next counselor, please.
Thank you, Warden. Just one question, Kelly, when you mentioned that the SIN number must be provided by the person getting $1,000 to CRA, does that make it taxable?
No, I can take that one, Kelly. So it's not taxable. Because the resident's receiving a benefit from a trust, the trustee, the trust has to report who the beneficiaries are back to CRA. So it's not taxable to the person receiving the benefit.
Yeah. Okay. The other one I'm just trying to find, you had Bulligy, I'm sorry, Fraser Patterson, District 5, which is Bulligy, part of Victoria County. I'm trying to find where you have 134 residents in Bulligy North. I just searched Bulligy North on your website. It doesn't show anything. I'm not sure what you mean by Bulligy North. All of the north side of Bulligy is the situation, as I understand it from a couple of years ago. There's two exchanges on Bulligy, 674, which comes from Big Brador, and then 736 on the south side, which comes from Sydney Mines. The 674 part got done, and that's right around Kempted, right down to one of the crossroads. And then there's a section that would actually originate in CBRM to come up to fill in the rest of the gap. And as far as I know, that has never been completed.
Interesting. Okay. Do you know approximately how many residents that would affect on
I would say your number of 134 is pretty well accurate, Kevin.
Okay. Yeah, I
But
can dig into that.
geographically, I think that may be confusing to some people because it crosses over from CBRN into Victoria
Yeah.
County. So I think actually, when years ago we looked at what to be completed, it didn't have it listed in Victoria County. It had it listed in CBRN.
Yeah, and I think that's the challenge too, is a lot of our projects kind of span multiple counties and electoral zones and so on. So these numbers might not be exact. There might be some that are on the other border type of thing. And that could be it.
So could you check into that
I
and
will
maybe
check that.
on with the presentation?
Yep, I can do that.
Thank you.
And with respect to the project name, you're right, that would normally, the general project bucket is scope expansion bulletry. So we'll change that on the PowerPoint, just so people aren't looking for a north project that isn't named that way.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. Thank you for your time. My name is Norman McDonald. I'm from District 8, which is the top of Victoria County, up towards on this side of Meat Cove over to Cape North, Dingwall, and all areas in between there. No real complaints from my end. Everything seems to be going pretty good. There's only just the odd, I was getting calls from constituents with regard to service interruptions, like with the actual, just as an example, they'd be watching a show and then the service will cut out, that have to wait for a reboot. That's been happening more than it should be, in a sense, more often than it should be. I'm just wondering if that's something that's.
Yeah, definitely. That shouldn't happen. I mean, the odd time you might, the odd one's fine, right? But if it happens more often than not, then that's a repair issue. It might be, the CPE device might be defective and Bell's got to swap that out. But again, these are things we track through this service delivery. If there's, as we mentioned before, if there's any of these ones in particular that are kind of, there's one resident out there that this seems to be affecting in particular, like, let us know these ones and we can chase Bell down and find out what's going on. Like if we don't want customers getting the runaround, if they're having to deal with multiple service issues, then, there's a problem.
And it's not something that's on a regular basis. I mean, we've come leaps and bounds. It's great to have fiber in the area. And when it was rolling through the different communities in my districts, people were fairly excited when the trucks were getting closer to Meat Cove. And then the trucks stopped. They never came back. So for Meat Cove people, although that's Inverness County, they get all their services through Victoria County. Can you give a kind of a little time frame? It says 2023 on the website.
Well, and you know what happened with Meat Cove is that was originally, we had tried to get this thing done earlier as part of the Dingwall project way up there. And from what I understand is the residents are farther away from where the access point for the fiber is. So they needed this what do they call it? It's this other high capacity or long range fiber device that they could shoot the light signal down farther. And so that it affected their ability to do this one earlier, and they had to go back and sort of re-engineer that project again to put some more sophisticated equipment in it. So I think that thing is now scheduled for when do we have? I'm just going to pull up my bear with me for 1 sec here, guys. I'm just going to pull up my latest milestone list here, and we can get an exact date on the Meat Cove completion.
It says December of 23. And the only reason I ask that is some people have used Starlink, I believe it is.
Yeah.
Would that interrupt service going into that area? Because there's only 21 homes, I think, up there.
No, so Starlink is completely separate, right, from Bell. So it's good on them if they take advantage of Starlink for the time being. They can get a rebate through us for their upfront costs. When the fiber gets there, then they can absolutely, there's no contracts for Starlink, so they can cancel their service at any time and then flip over to Bell. I think the problem with with Starlink, it's a great service, but it's only internet, right? And the monthly charge for Starlink is kind of high, like it's around $150 a month now, and you're only getting internet. With the Bell 5 product, you're getting, the internet at like a gigabit speed, and the television channels and the phone and everything else at a bundled price of, a bit over $100, right? So it's in the long run, it's a better service. But again, but if they want to take advantage of that, temporarily, great. If they want to keep it, it's up to them, whatever they want to do. But so as Kelly mentioned before, like when we put these dates out there, like December 2023, that's when the whole project is done and dusted. So it's finished. The last house on the last street is hooked up. We might see, Meat Cove's a fairly small area, so they'll probably all get hooked up during the same week. But some of these larger project areas, like as they build the fiber, down the various roads, those sections will come online, and then the next day more will come online, and then more and more and more. And what we do is we update that list on our website, so residents can go in and see if their address is available for fiber, or they can go on the Bell website and punch in their address, and it says, yeah, you can order service now. But I suspect, like again, Meat Cove is it's a fairly small area, so the Bell guys will probably be able to take care of that all in a week. And right now, they've got that, like you say, in December 2023.
Great, thank you. No, that's good, sir.
Thank you. We're going to move over to Councillor McNeil.
Thank you, Warden, and thank you, Kevin and Kelly, for the presentation. I've talked to you in the past, emailed you, the both of you in the past for problems in the area. With regards to my area, it's good to know that Starlink is the alternative, and people were worried. Basically, it was going to take over for the fiber, and it wasn't going to be done in the area. So that's good to know. With Little Naris and the Iona areas, the fiber has been run through to Estamere and down to South Cove, basically. But again, it seems to have stalled there. Could you explain why it stalled?
Yeah, so sometimes what happens too is the challenge might be that there's a feeder cable somewhere that feeds that's sort of upstream those sites, and there could be a water crossing there that they have to deal with, as we mentioned before, and that sort of stalls the project's area sort of ahead of it. How far did you say that went up now? You mentioned it was up.
Well, I think the fiber has been run right from Estamere right to South Cove. There was no fiber run through Iona area yet, but I think it has been run, but it's stalled since they ran it through that area.
Yeah, I have to check on that one. I mean, that
the reason why you gave first was something to do with Marble Mountain. There's an area in Marble Mountain, but it doesn't really make sense coming through Marble Mountain. But anyway.
It all depends on how they have this network designed to. So like like again, if their feeder fibers sort of go up a certain way, then they might be dependent on those feeder fibers to get in place first before they can do sort of the upstream. But that one should be done by now. So I'll have to take that one away and take a look. I know that just in general, Bell has been struggling. Just there's a lot of challenging environment up there in these areas with there's a lot of water crossing and just the terrain and so on. And so what happens is, Bell goes out to NSP and says, okay, here's where we're going to run our fiber. Then they've got to go out, and NSP goes out and takes a look at it. They go and look at all the poles, look at everything that has to be done. And they come back with, okay, here's the amount of work that has to be done in these areas. And from what Bell is telling me is that there's a significant amount of work that has to be done. And it could just be, again, it could be anything from these water crossings, which just really drag things way down. They slow everything down with permits and everything else, or replacing these poles. And, I've been through there a couple of times myself, and there's a number of like these old stubby poles, and they just have to come out. So they got to replace all these darn things. And what was the latest that I heard from my contact over at Bell is that sorry, did I
No,
interrupt you
no,
there?
it was showing that through Iona and that area should be completed
Yeah.
this summer or in the fall. Does that still look possible?
It's still possible. I'll have to get a more, see the way that Bell sort of looks at these things like as a whole project, right? They don't really give us like small chunks of they don't granulize this too much for us, but I can take that back. I know this has been a big, it's a big area. The whole Waikagama area is a huge project area. And that's one that's, I know that's been delayed a couple of times now. We've got to get some better answers for that guy. Go ahead.
Just a couple of other questions too, like for the work afterwards, do you have like a third party inspecting Bell's work? Afterwards, like I've got these questions from people that know what they're talking about. Like maybe like the boxes, are they 2 to 4 kilometers apart, or are they 4 to 6 kilometers apart when they're doing the work?
Yeah, so I mean, it's up to them to design the network. So they give us a detailed design of how it's going to work and everything else, and they've got to give us when they're finished the work. They've got to give us a sort of a set of performance tests and everything to make sure that that the speeds that they're getting out to the end customer are achievable, and all the other performance metrics are achievable and so on. And we actually go out and Build Nova Scotia goes out and audits all these sites ourselves. So we go around and we look to make sure that the boxes are where they say they're supposed to be, and that the wires are on the poles that they said they were going to be on and everything. So I think we're pretty confident that the sort of the engineer, the design of the network is solid, and then it's just a matter of getting them to deliver. And so the way we get them to test the speeds is we get them to do a test point that's kind of right beside their node, right, to see what the speeds they can get. That's like kind of right on top of the thing, and sort of midway, like a midway point, and then the furthest point away from that thing. So, and we want to see that, I'm pretty confident they're going to get the speeds at the, close to the thing and midway, but it's the ones that are far out there that we want to make sure that they're able to achieve the performance speeds and so on. And so they have to give all three tests. So, and again, they got to maintain this for 10 years, right? So, yeah, I think we're, so far so good. We haven't had very many complaints that we've gotten anyway, other than the odd one that has the most of the complaints we have is what we talked about before, is the power goes out, I don't have my phone, right? That's the biggest thing we hear. But as far as like performance of the Fi product, I mean, when residents have been hooked up, they say it's great. They're getting the speeds they pay for and everything else, so no complaints there.
Just one other question, like if there is congestion problems, like was there a standard, like a uniformity of the fiber on the poles?
Yeah.
Is it 24, 48? Or
Yeah,
90?
so that'll show up in the performance data that they give us. So if there is, like, they shouldn't be oversubscribing the network to an amount where it's gonna get congested. They typically have, they sell one megabit per so many customers sort of thing, and they have this oversubscription model. But we'll see that in the performance data, right? And because they have to test these things during the busy time, like the busy hour. So when most people are on the network, so we don't want them going out there and testing the network at 3 o'clock in the morning when nobody's using it. It's between sort of between 5 and 9 p.m. when all the kids get home from school, everybody's getting online, doing their work and everything else, like the busiest time of the day. And that's when we see the test data, and it's got to meet our thresholds. And if it doesn't, then we basically tell them, you've got another quarter to fix this thing. If you don't, then we've got fines built into our contracts that we can levy fines against the ISPs if they don't live up to the performance metrics.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Go ahead.
Thank you, Kevin and Kelly. My name is Perla McLeod. I'm councillor from District 2, East Middle River, Big Bedek, Bedek Inlet, Nyanza. I have just I checked your website, and in Bedek is my area. The map is in my area is in the map. you update in in your maps is to date, or when is your last update when you put that?
Let's see, we just did an update. Let's see, Kelly, do you have that map, that website in front of you there? I don't have it.
We did updates last week,
Okay.
any
Uh,
relevant project areas that we had to
And
do updates for.
okay.
Yep.
So it's according the September 23, you will eventually, if
23,
everything
yeah.
go well, will be in September 2023.
Exactly, yeah, fingers
Okay.
crossed that we, everything goes. I mean, this is based on this is
Weather.
based on,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, if we have another couple of big winter storms, then, who knows
sure.
what's gonna happen, but.
Okay,
No.
and another question is, in the satellite rebate is only for new customers?
No, so anyone that has purchased satellite that's on our eligibility list, they can qualify for a rebate. So, if they purchased their satellite equipment last year, they can still qualify for that rebate if it's on our list. And Kelly mentioned earlier that like some we might not have caught all the locations out there. So if someone feels that they should be on the list, they should get in contact with us. We'll take a look. There's new homes popping up that we might not have on the list that we can, and we usually typically add them onto the list within 24 hours if we've missed a couple. But
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, and another question that you say you 10-year service delivery, that will be a start when, for example, in Big Bed, we're waiting for that project coming. Once it's there, the 10 years service delivery start, for example?
Yeah, so right. So what Bell's going to do is they're going to, and this is this is a better way to do it, is they're going to close off all of these second round projects all at once, right? So then the clock will start. So, if your project is finished in September, and then they finish all of the projects in December, we'll actually start the clock in December. So we get a couple of free months in there, right? And then we'll start the 10 years from then.
And the residents will have this information to know, because as you know, we have some issues with Bell, either in cell phone and internet right now, and the pricing, right? So
Yeah.
just
Yeah. I mean, yeah. No, I hear
we
you. I
can do
mean,
anything right now. So it's very important if we have the information to where and how we can apply for any concerns, right?
Yeah. I think that if there's any of those concerns, if there's any customer concerns, direct them to us, and we'll sort of voice them with Bell. We hear it loud and clear about the cellular service, that there's we know from personal experience driving all around this province that there's a lot of holes out there, right? So we're just kind of waiting on what the government wants to do next, and we know where the holes are. We just don't know which way to go about fixing it, right? It's a little different than we have to build like a business case with the operators to make it worthwhile, and how are we going to play a part there in helping to contribute to this and so on. And so we're just at the early stages.
And just one more thing about your satellite rebate. Some residents are come in front and say you have to spend $1,000 in front to have the rebate. So it's not for everybody. And especially in rural communities, people can't afford that. So maybe, I don't know, if this go far waiting, maybe another type of program for people low income, that will be appreciated. Yeah,
I don't know. We've heard that before, and we thought about that when we put this program together. It's $1,000 is a fair chunk of change for some folks to put out there, and then then you're waiting up to 8 weeks to get a rebate back. So we don't have a program right now that sort of looks at. Kelly, was there something about lower income? Did we look at that at one time?
Yeah, we did. For that very reason, we wanted to see if there was any potential supports out there. So we did reach out to some different departments. As Kevin mentioned, we don't have a specific program. We did hear from some people, if somebody's a client of community services, for example, there may be something there. There has been some discussion. I think if you go online and just look for low income internet options for Nova Scotia, there was a program that started, and I think they're looking to continue it, but it's not that specific. Like, here's the up to $1,000 up front, and then you can make arrangements however you do that, and then apply for the rebate. So, but yeah, if we certainly if we hear of anything or something comes to light, we'll make sure we share that information so you have it.
Okay, thank you. And hopefully we have that in December 23 and Victoria County will be ready.
Fingers
Thank-
crossed.
Yeah.
Thank
Yeah,
you,
if
Rita.
anybody has any updates or wants to share the good news with us, or, there's residents that might be a good story for all of us, like, please don't hesitate to let us know.
Okay, we'll do that. This may be provide you with a venue to do that. So hopefully if anybody is listening and they wish to pass along their positive experience, we'll ask them to do so. We have a question from a staff person here, so I'm just going to pass my mic over to this gentleman.
It's Parker Horton. I'm the Economic Development Officer for Victoria County. I work with the Cape Breton Partnership. I've spoken with a lot of small businesses, and the satellite rebate it's very well received. However, the cost of operating on a monthly basis is quite high. The program keeps getting referred to as an interim solution. When I talk to people, they say, why isn't this incorporated into a final solution? So the question is, has there been an opportunity cost analysis for the gaps come January 2024 for anybody who isn't being covered to be perhaps subsidized to meet the standard rates of the highest speed operator from a landline or fiber op? So if I was in a location, I'm in the 0.1%, can I get high speed through Starlink, and could you subsidize that? Have you looked at the costs associated for the total install versus a subsidization on a small per capita basis?
Yeah, that's a good question. We haven't. But yeah, I get your point. Like, it's the ongoing cost for Starlink is, probably to the tune of what, $40 a month more than Bell. It's not something that's in our mandate right now. Like, the only thing we're doing is just giving a direct to consumer rebate just on the upfront cost. So it's anything from the cost of Starlink upfront. If they contracted an installer to put the thing on the roof for them, we'll cover that as well. If there's any additional cables or routers or whatever gizmos that they need to get this thing up and going, we'll cover that up to $1,000. But we haven't gone down the road of subsidizing, of doing it like subsidizing the sort of the monthly cost at this point.
Perfect. Because what keeps coming up is we expect to know that there will be gaps. So if you look at going forward, what is the total cost for you to extend to meet this 100% target? Say it costs $50 million worth of hard infrastructure. What could you do with that $50 million to enable this? That's the conversations that are being.
No, and so that's what we're doing now. Is so we've got a list of, like, there's roughly 3,700 locations throughout the province that we can't reach with any terrestrial service. So any fixed wireless or fiber or coax cable or anything like that. So we're still looking at, so just recently we're looking at another agreement with Seaside, where they can extend their network out to capture another 20 or 30 out there, right? So we're still looking to see. One of the trustees said we want to try and push the wired services out as far as we possibly can. The challenge is like, once you get more and more rural, the cost gets significantly more expensive than when we look at like the cost per unit. Like, I think now we're in around the range of around $8,000 per unit, like total cost to actually extend fiber. So it's getting expensive compared to where we started at, whereas it was around $1,500 per unit. So it gets expensive, but there's still money left in the trust. And so we've encouraged the ISPs to go out and sort of, look at which ones you can reach. The challenge with the ISPs, and folks might have heard this, but there's a cost for them to attach their fiber to the poles. It's an ongoing cost. So NSP, not so much with Bell, but for the other smaller ones, is NSP charges basically a pole attachment fee to every pole they're on. Right. And this is an annual fee. And so if you have a customer that's, 30, 50, 100 poles away, technically you can get there, but it doesn't make sense. The business case doesn't make sense for the ISPs. They'll never be able to recover their their cost upfront. Even if we subsidize it at 100%, they still have to pay these ongoing pole attachment fees. But that said, so we're still kind of chipping away at this thing while we have funds, and trying to get as many people onto a wired service as possible. And but I think at the end of the day, there's going to be some people that like satellite's going to be the only option they have.
Thank you, and thank you, Parker. Just good second last comments to the CAO, please. Leanne?
Yeah, and I just had a couple of comments that came from online that I'm hearing. And one, Councilor McLeod already talked about, where if you had bought Starlink about a year ago, let's say, you could still get the rebate if you're in the area that is not serviced yet. So those residents should be able to get that rebate.
Yep.
And then there was a comment that internet and cell are absolute necessities for people operating businesses from their place of residence, as Parker had just mentioned. And there's little to no cell service coverage at my location in Southside Boulardry. This is an emergency services concern, and EMT are dependent on cell coverage to guide them to a dispatched location. And also the comment before, where if power goes off and it only lasts for 15 minutes, that is an emergency services issue. And we want that passed on to Bell as well. So.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, there's yeah, so I think I mentioned earlier, like, so there is things you can do as sort of a homeowner to give you that extra little life in your with your phone line if the power goes out. Cell service, we hear it loud and clear that there's a definite problem out there with cell coverage, and we're just at the early stages of this thing now, just trying to figure out, we know where the problems are. We just need to figure out the best path to fix it. And we're gonna be talking to. We're going to be polling industry as well, like going out and talking to the various operators and say, like, how would you approach this to fix this? And does it make sense to get universal coverage right across the whole province? Or, do we target certain roadways or what, right? It's going to be expensive.
Just to wrap up, I'm Bruce Morrison, and my district is just the Bedeque general area. So we're fairly well serviced by different providers. So I just perhaps to speak as on a municipal level as the warden, I can't tell you that we hear almost every day from either residents or new businesses or newcomers coming into our municipality. We're a large rural municipality. And certainly their expectation is that broadband is a basic infrastructure that should be in place. And I just want to kind of relay the importance of broadband to our municipality, both from a business point of view, from a public safety point of view, just from a userability point of view. And so I'm as hopeful as most around the table that you can hit your deadlines, and by the end of this year, we'll be well connected, that's for sure. So I do want to thank you for your time and your presentation today. It certainly was informative, and I think it answered a lot of questions. And I was glad to see that you're quite familiar with our municipalities when we talk about the small areas, and whether it's Tarbert or whether it's Boulardry. You seem to be familiar with the area, and now you're familiar with the issues that are in all of those areas as well. So I do appreciate that. So with that, unless you have any final comments, again, I want to thank you very much for coming to council today and providing us with an excellent review of what's going on with Build Nova Scotia.
Okay, thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Appreciate your time.
Thanks, bye-bye.
Take care.
So we're going to move on to the next item on council. And the minutes of February 6th council meeting were circulated to you in advance of the meeting today. Were there any errors or omissions in those minutes? Hearing none, we have a motion to approve the minutes as circulated, please.
Approve.
We have a motion from Councillor McLeod. Do we have a seconder, please? Councillor McNeil, a second. All in favor? Contrary minded? Motion is carried. The minutes have been approved. I'm going to now turn over to the CAO's report. So Leanne, please. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so just a couple of things. So we are doing communications on our water rate increase, and in July, our water users are going to be or should be expecting about a 15% increase. So we will be getting messaging out in the very, very near future. Will be happening. Our municipal boundary review public hearing is going to be on April 18th, 2023 at 2 p.m. here in the courtroom. It is on the municipal calendar on the website. And something that we need for that, we didn't do a municipal review motion, a boundary review motion to approve the recommendation to send it off to the UARB. We did present to you the results that we had from going out, but we didn't formalize it with a motion. So I'm hoping that we can get a motion on that behalf.
So move that we
to do the
approve.
study. We did want to do the study. I don't know if we did one to approve what we had to pass it on to the UARB.
I approve that we pass it on to UARB.
Motion's been made by the Deputy Warden. Do we have a second for that, please? Second by Councillor Longo. All in favor?
Aye.
All contrary minded, motion's carried. So we can
Correct.
provide the document. My apologies that my mic wasn't on, but it was moved by the Deputy Warden, seconded by Councillor Longo, that approval be a motion through council to be approved, and it has.
Perfect, thank you. Okay, so we had our strategic planning session February 1st and 2nd down at the Celtic. I think it went really well. Thanks so much for all your great input into it. We sent out the next section where we summarized the document and received word back. Looks good. So we're going to be sending it to our designer for drafts, and we'll circulate the draft once we receive that. We had talked a little bit earlier about the Community Meals Plus program and continuing that on for the next year. You should probably make a motion related to wanting to continue that project.
We have a motion.
I did a motion.
Moved by
Yeah.
Councilman Pratt, sorry.
No, okay.
Moved by Councilman Pratt, seconded by Councilman McNeil. All in favor? Aye. Contrary minded, motion is carried.
Great, thank you. So a few things from the different departments that we have. So we have day one of budget preparations today. We started with capital. Our next session will be moving on to operating. Our T4s will be going out soon related to everyone's remuneration. We have a tax sale plan for March 28th. That tax sale reminder or notice will be going in the Inverness Orion tomorrow, and will be going in the Cape Breton Post on Saturday, just so that it is widespread. In our Public Works Department, so we talked at the last council session about a truck that we were looking to have. The truck is in Dartmouth. It's going through safety inspection. We'll be sending a staff member up to have a look at that truck and hopefully getting that home here soon, if all goes well. Kelly said she might be wanting to hitch up horses and wagons. It might be more reliable than the trucks that we have. In our water department, so we've received a grant for a clean internship student. So we'll have a student who will be working in the water department this year. We have ongoing leak detection happening. It's very hard this time of year to find leaks, and we may experience some continued operations. There's one that was happening last week that we're going to look at completing tonight or finishing that in that same area. So each of those residents will be let know about that. We have some of our operators who are have completed and have written their level 2 tests. So hopefully we'll be getting the marks back and they'll be passing those soon. Our tourism department. So tourism department met with Destination Cape Breton Marketing Committee to review the upcoming 2023 marketing plan. They also met with Tourism Nova Scotia to reschedule the influencer visit that was supposed to happen in Ganesh. He's also met with our counterparts in Wagmatcook to open ongoing discussions around how we can be of assistance with Wagmatcook community in growing their tourism story and experiences. And that's inclusive of trails development projects that they have going on, which they are starting to work on as well. We have been reviewing and sharing some upcoming grant opportunities with the tourism industry and with the Trails Group in our recreation department. So our rec person has attended Nova Scotia Walk training and is now a certified group walk leader. Our last staff member was doing some walks, and this one should be scheduling some in the near future as well. Putting some final touches on the pilot multi-sport program at the schools. So we should be seeing that rolling out soon. And working on an active transport core network initiative, which is the Blue Route with Bicycle Nova Scotia. And in our trails department, so Dan's been busy. He's going to be having a meeting with potential trail builders to discuss upcoming projects for the summer of 2023. And he's working on phase 2 through Big Bedeck with our trails. In community development, the Ingonish STEP project has selected a consultant to work on a project. This project is on track and has some great momentum in moving forward with community commitment for sustainable growth in the coming years. So well done down there. He's planning a series of meetings in different communities around the county in the coming weeks and months. If you have a tourism experience or community development idea, please reach out to chat with Dan or watch for him when he's in your area. Senior safety. So senior safety says that the seniors drop-ins and luncheons are all starting back up after post-COVID, which is a great thing. She had a great engagement session with a seniors group down in Ingonish and got a lot of good ideas down there. She has let us know that there is a ukulele class that has just started on the North Shore. And we've received a grant through Age Friendly Communities for marketing of community resources. So we will be putting together a community resources database. And our economic development officer has been getting out to the businesses to introduce himself and has met with 2 businesses about microloans and business development. So a few other things. So we met last week with ABO Wind to discuss alternative energy solutions. We'll be meeting again in early March, and they'll be coming forward to meet with council in the near future as well. The tender on the Ingonish roof for the Rec Society, the tender process has closed. Not sure if we may possibly be going back out with that. We also need a motion to, so we'll go with that one next. We have a line of credit with, we've been talking with RBC to get a line of credit in place, and we need a borrowing resolution for that. And so hoping that we can get a borrowing resolution for a $3.5 million line of credit. We're not using it unless we have to, but it's good to have in place also. And we can't have it in place without a borrowing resolution.
So the resolution for council is as follows. Be it resolved that Council of Municipality, County of Victoria authorizes the municipality to borrow a $3.5 million line of credit from the Royal Bank of Canada. The following motion will be made and passed February 21st, 2023. So we need a motion to that effect, please. Thank you, Councillor Longa. Do we have a seconder, please?
Second.
Seconded by Councillor McLeod. So
Perfect.
there you
Thank
can sign it, and there we go.
And last thing, so we're planning a Mayor's Wardens Chiefs meeting happening here in Bedeck, March 2nd and 3rd. And hopefully opening up the group after we have our initial meeting. What I got?
Thank you very much. Any questions or comments in regards to CAO's report? Well, I'm going to start with Councillor Longa, please.
I was just interested in the Nova Scotia walk training. Does that happen in Cape Breton or?
I know that it was off-site and it's through Hike Nova Scotia.
I just thought it would be a nice, a good program to maybe hold in Cape Breton sometimes so that other people that lead walks, like we have someone in our area that leads walks on Saturdays. It would be nice for them to get the training.
Yep, they should
Two.
look it up. It's on Hike Nova Scotia's website.
Okay, thank you.
I think we've sponsored some people in the past to take that training also.
That's it. Thanks.
Thank you, Counselor. And Counselor Organ, did you have something, please? Oh, I'm sorry, I misunderstood. Maybe during the recess, Counselor Longborough, if you're skilled on the ukulele, you'll be able to play some tunes during.
I didn't bring my ukulele, but I could bring it next week.
We'll look forward to
2
that.
weeks time.
Perhaps. Thank you. We have recess scheduled for 10 minutes. I have 3:19. We'll reconvene at 3:29, please. Thank you. So we are going to reconvene council and we are going to go to the next item on the agenda, district concerns, and we'll start with just district number 6, please. Councillor Oregon, anything this afternoon? Right, we're starting with district number 7.
I know. They're just forgetting me tonight. No, I don't have too much on the agenda tonight, but I had the privilege, thank you to a call from Councillor McDonald to go to the Highland Manor yesterday along with MLA Keith Bain and Mr. Cecil Clark and present Mrs. Stella Capstick with an award. It was a lovely time. She was greatly appreciative and smiling like you wouldn't believe. But anyway, it was nice. Thank you, Mr. McDonald. We had an issue with garbage pickup on Lighthouse Road, and that was taken care of. Thank you to Leanne for doing that for me. And hopefully the water leak issue in New Haven will soon be rectified. And that's all I have. Thanks.
Councillor, appreciate that. And we do also want on behalf of council to send best wishes to Stella Capstick as well. Her husband was a longtime councillor for the district and former warden of Victoria County. So we'll move on to district number 1.
Yeah, thank you, Warden. Just one thing. I would like to make a motion to write a letter to whoever's in charge of the federal boundary review to view our displeasure on the proposed boundary change. Geographically, I think it will put Victoria County in a bad disadvantage to add us to Inverness and Richmond.
We'll give that to the senior councillor. Councillor Patterson has seconded that. All in favor? Contrary minded, motion is carried.
And that's it. Thank you.
District number 2, please.
Thank you, Warren. I meet with residents from Middle River and Margaree last week. They invite me for a meeting. They have concerns about the rivers, Margaree River, Big Bedek, and Middle River River. The rivers are changing and they don't have any maintenance for years. And now the landlords don't see is flooding. The river is turning any different courses. So it's a very, very urgent manner. They're going to have a meeting in Middle Rivers. When I have the date, I will pass it on. And but just to keep it in the radar, is something is coming to the attention to the residents. Councillor Blaine from Inverness was there too. So we are in conversations about how we can help or advocacy or something in the future. I just asking if any day for update or date for Nova Scotia Health Authority, if they reply for coming to the council yet? No.
I did speak with Brett McDougall on numbers at the Urgent Treatment Center, and he passed it on to some other gentleman, and I'm waiting to hear back on that.
Okay. And there's another, the status for the pedestrian sidewalk between Farms Drive, I know it's your district, but in Bedek Academy. If we can ask for an update, if they're going to help to do that pedestrian sidewalk for the children. And for the last, we have a birthday girl, Margaret McPhee, 108 in February 9. So she was in the radios, if they hear the interview. So just congratulate Margaret McPhee for her 108 birthday from Big Bedek.
Very good. And on behalf of council, we certainly send best wishes to her. I'm sure she's our oldest resident, and she's phenomenal. And if you heard her on the radio, you can tell she's still sharp as a tack. So we certainly wish her continued good health. Thank you for that.
Welcome. That's it. Thanks.
Councillor McDonald, District number 8.
I guess, Warden, not too much in District 8. Things have been
relatively quiet. Just wondering, had there ever been an update from Public Works to come to council with regard to highways? Pardon me?
6th, Public Works is here.
Well, it's a shame I won't be at that meeting, but that's a better one for me, the 17th. But I guess the reason for that being was with I think the initial ask was with equipment, to do with equipment standards, but I've had quite a few people and actually emails that I can forward to the rest of council with regard to the section of the Cabot Trail, namely down in my area from Effie's Brook to Cape Northern area, that when it hadn't been on the 5-year provincial plan. And they're emailing, calling me, asking if there's a way that we could have a town hall meeting. I do explain that it is provincial, as roads are provincial, we all know. And I've been in conversation with MLA Keith Bain. And just wondering if maybe we could have Mr. Bain come to council. Yes, it's been a while since he's been to visit our chambers, I think. Maybe it'd be better if it was to come from him to explain. Yes, sorry. 17th, perfect. That answers all my questions, I guess. That's it for District 8.
Thank you very much, Counselor.
Thank you.
And we're going to move on to Counselor Patterson, District number 5.
Thank you, Warden. Just a couple of things, and then I just give a brief FCM report too. First of all, last Wednesday evening, the community of Ross Ferry met with Leah McDonald and Renee Gallant from Nova Scotia Power. And it turns out, I think after your description last meeting, Councilor McDonald, I described what happened in part of Bulladry and Ross Ferry. It was a very rare occurrence. Apparently, it was a switch, which if it detects an overload, cuts off the power. The combination of the wind and the cold temperatures started it tripping for 4 or 5 seconds. Power would go out, then it come back on. Somebody counted the number of times it went out, and I don't know what the exact number was. But then the conversation with them took the other issues that we have, the communication center, how, you know, the update times are not accurate sometimes. And I just thought of it, and I don't know if the new councilors, especially the older ones, Paul and I, Bruce would know. Nova Scotia Power provided us with a phone number for their Resolve team quite a number of years ago, and I had frankly kind of forgot about it. They still exist. It's not really for the public to have, but they gave it to municipal officials. And if, for example, if we know someone who is on oxygen and they have to have power and they maybe have a backup battery or something, but we know of a situation where, you know, it could be life or death situation without the power, we can phone the Resolve team and get more up-to-date information. Because in the past I've done it and they can contact the field crews, the people out in the, you know, repairing the lines or whatever. So I'll send that number around to everybody because you get a person right away. There's no going through, you know, any screening or whatever. And you can actually tell the person, and when I called them this time, she called me back. She didn't have the information, but she called me back within 20 minutes. So that was interesting. And then the final part of this, yesterday, if any of you were out, it wasn't a very nice day. It was rainy and cold and so on and so forth, and a holiday to boot. And I'm going toward City Mines yesterday, and here are two Nova Scotia Power vehicles trimming trees away from the line. So I don't know if the meeting had any influence of that or not, but draw your own conclusions with it. The other question I was asked on our grant application for funding, it says a letter of support from a staff member. Does that include councilors? It's one of the development grant, maybe, is it? You would ask, or did someone wanted to know if we could ask Dan or Parker? It says staff member. That's what I'm just wondering the definition is.
So
a letter
I
of
guess I'm
support
not
from
really
us.
sure what section that is because I
I think it's
saw that
development
in the
grants, Dan, but I'm not sure.
development grants. So I would think that a staff member is going to approve it for the funding piece of it. If a counselor signs off on it, that's even better.
Okay, yeah,
That you're in support of it.
okay. Okay, thank you. Those two things. And then just the FCM, I have 4 virtual meetings coming up between the 23rd of February and March 8th. 23rd of February is the Community Safety and Crime Prevention Committee. 24th is the Environmental Issues and Sustainability Development Committee. Rural Forum on the 7th, and a Committee of the Whole on the 8th of March. So if you have any items you'd like me to bring up at that, just let me know. And then finally, the registration for the FCM this year in Toronto. And I just like to note that it's in May this year, May 25th to 28th. And I was told that was to guarantee that the Leafs will be still playing then. So if they went into June, they might not be very. So and actually the registration opens today, February 21st, but the early bird pricing goes until April 21st. So and the warden and I had discussed it at the break a bit too. So that's just kind of a heads up on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Thank you for the update of the FCM as well. Counselor Longva, anything from your district today, please?
Yeah, so the senior safety, Cassandra mentioned that there's ukulele classes on the North Shore and Indian Brook, and that's true. And there is over 20, I think close to 25 people that are signed up for it, and I'm one of them. That's very fun. And the lady who's teaching them is new to the neighborhood. Her name's Barb Hearns. She's a retired school teacher, but she's very good on the ukulele and a great teacher. And at before ukulele lessons, it was the seniors lunch, and I had told you at our last meeting that I was going to give a little update on what we did at the strategic planning session in English, and it went really well. There was 59 people attended, and they were really happy that I had that little meeting there. And anything that I couldn't answer, I directed them to our CAO to ask her. Yeah, and I can't take full credit that 59 people came to see me. They might have come to have Angela Ianetti's food, but it went well anyway. And my last thing was I wondered if the CAO had heard from the Ecology Action Center, because I did talk to them and I got a couple of names and I directed them, I gave them your email because they wanted to have a date, to set a date.
Yes, so I haven't heard anything.
Okay.
If you pass those emails on to
I'll
staff.
give you the 2 email addresses.
Yeah,
I'll send
great.
it to staff. Thank you. That's it.
Thank you, Counselor. I'm thinking once you learn the ukulele, there'll even be more than 59 people coming to the luncheon, so. Deputy Warden, anything from your district, please?
Thanks, Warden. Yeah, no, things are quiet. Everything's been looked after. The only concern I had, I'm just wondering about the March 17th meeting with the Deputy Minister of Public Works. I'm actually out of the country at that time. I'm just wondering, is everybody else able to make it, or is there any chance we could request, because to me, it's probably one of the most important meetings of the year. But I'm just wondering if there's any flexibility in those dates or not. I don't know if Steph had any discussions with them. Did you? Okay, no, that's fine. I'll. Yeah. Yep, no, I understand. That's fine. It's a. Yeah, no, it's just March break. What I'll do is I'll present my questions, I guess, in writing, and maybe the warden can
Sure
forward them on.
can.
Would be greatly
Yeah.
appreciated. And that's it from District 6. No,
Not just.
Not
no,
for
you
council.
Don't want to do that. Okay.
I won't be available. No, I won't be available. Thanks very much, guys.
Yeah, you can send your concerns
I
and
will.
we will definitely get them.
Yep, thank you.
And if it changes, we'll let you know. I just have a couple of quick updates. One is there is a Community Impact Conference, Climate Commitments in Action. I'm not sure if anybody else received this. I just received it in the last day or so. It's going to be a one-day conference in Sydney, and it deals with Community Impact Conference Climate Commitments in Action. And it just has to do with climate change. And like the deputy warden, I am not available that day, but I think I'm going to send this around. If you have interest, I think it'd be an excellent idea if we have representation from council. And that could be 7 or 3, but I think it's a important topic. And that should be, it's April 22nd, and it's in Sydney. And I will send you the link. And I certainly would appreciate anybody that can go. And if I was here, I would attend. The second item I just wanted to bring up, we finally received the signs for changing Campbell Street to Jessica Wong Lane. They just came on Friday, so we didn't have a chance to try to do that today. So I'm hoping March 6th at 1 o'clock, depending Jessica's availability. And if that date works for her, that we at 1 o'clock would meet up at the, no, sorry,
We
what,
have a committee of the whole at 1 o'clock
Oh.
on March 6th.
maybe 12. We'll figure out a time and we'll just do a public unveiling of the street sign. And then we've asked the school and they feel that they could probably send up some students as well. So anyway, there'll be more of an update on that, but the signs are here. So everything else seems to fall into place, and it would be nice to recognize her on behalf of the municipality. So just if you would keep that in your date, and you'll be given an update as we move forward. So, and I don't think there's anything else that I have for my district. So we're going to move on. Did you have anything that you, for your district? Just kidding. All right, we're going to move on now to any motions. We need a motion for the Eastern District Planning Commission appointments.
Yeah, so I have a letter here. Actually, I have 2 different motions from district planning. This is a letter from John Bain. It says, as in years past, we would ask the municipality make the following municipality of the County of Victoria make the following appointments at your next regular session of council, replacing all previous appointments of district planning staff to various municipal positions effective April 1st, 2023. So for building inspection, our building inspectors are David McKenzie and Sean Donovan. Our alternates are Harry Martell, Jonathan Martin, Andre Sampson, and Luke Ross. And our special constable is Sean Donovan and Jonathan Martin. Our development officer is Wanda Ryan with alternates John Bain, Andrew Jones, Don Sutherland, Kristen Nudskov, boy, I said that right, and Michaela Tate. Our fire inspector David McKenzie with alternates A. Sampson, L. Ross, S. Donovan, H. Martell, and J. Martin. And dangerous or unsightly premises, our administrators Jonathan Martin and John Bain, alternates Luke Ross, David McKenzie, and Andre Sampson, and special constable Sean Donovan and Jonathan Martin.
So we need a motion to appoint those folks. Would somebody make that motion, please? So moved. Moved by the deputy warden. Do we have a seconder, please? Second by Councilor Organ. All in favor? Contrary minded, the motion is approved and the appointments have been made. Do you have a second one or?
I do, yes. So I had mentioned, I think it was at the last session, that the MIP funding from the province for the municipal planning strategy, minimum planning standards, was going to be increased or extended, but we needed to have a policy in place to speak or have consultations with abutting municipalities. And it just so happens that the abutting municipalities that we're doing this with are also in the project that we're working on to have the extension. However, we have to have a policy in place where the municipality of Victoria looks for a public participation program regarding engagement with abutting municipalities as set out in Appendix A. So I had sent this off to everyone last week. And so the recommendation is from John Bain that the municipal council adopt by policy the municipality of County of Victoria public participation program regarding engagement with abutting municipalities as set out in Appendix A.
We have a motion to that effect, please. Moved by Councilor McNeil, seconded by Councilor McLeod. All in favor?
Contrary minded? Motion is carried.
So what it says is that council shall consult and engage with the county municipality of the County of Inverness and Cape Breton Regional Municipality when adopting or replacing a municipal planning strategy or considering amendments to the municipal planning strategy, which would affect lands that share a common boundary with either of those counties. And the policy 2 is that council shall formally notify Wagmatcook First Nation within 14 days of initiation of any non-housekeeping amendment to municipal planning strategy and the initiation of any process to adopt a new municipal planning strategy. So,
Just a question, who is going to do the consultation?
so it has to be with the municipalities.
Yes, who the what
Yeah.
people though?
So it will be through district planning. They'll be taking care of that.
Oh, okay, I'm just wondering if Parker might be involved too, because that's part of economic development, really, isn't it?
Not really on the planning side. So we're going to leave that to the planners.
They can decide
yeah.
what to do. Yeah, okay.
Thank you for that. And just as a note, I sent you out that information on that climate a few minutes ago. So if you can attend, that's great. Committee reports, any committee reports other than we received one from Councillor Patterson on the FCM? Any committee reports? Going twice, third time, we're good. Do we have any questions from anybody online today?
No, and correspondence has all been sent out. And there doesn't seem to be any other comments after Build Nova Scotia.
All right, so just some minor changes that we agreed to over the last couple of months in regards to council. We will be starting April 1st. We'll do one council session, then one committee of the whole, and they'll be rotated through. We will have an agenda section for any public questions. We will be rotating our seating every meeting, so just so you know. Yeah, we can play musical chairs. And committee of the whole are going to be more for operational and administrative presentations. So we'll have it from staff and we'll have a presentation such as we had today. And council will be more formally deal with council issues. So we're going to try to implement that change for those of us that have been around a while. It's a very common procedure. We used it for a number of years, then we switched back. So we're going to go back to that as agreed and discussed at our strategic planning. And we are also committing to having one council meeting in each district over the next year. So as we've had a council meeting already in, I think, District 1. And we also had a meeting in District 5, 6. I keep Fraser's 5. I'm new to council, so I get the districts mixed up. So those who are not mentioned, please keep in mind that we will, if you don't volunteer, we will remind you that council will be. So in April, the second meeting that we have in April, no, would it be
The first one, April 6th.
April 6th? Is there anybody that wishes to volunteer to host that in their district?
And that'll be a committee of the whole.
Sorry?
April 6th.
April 6th. Yep. Great. Indian Brook. Should be.
So the way that we see it unfolding is that we'll do a committee of the whole, the beginning of the month, and then the formal approvals will happen at the council session,
The
which
next
is the second session in the month. So the first one, so the April 6th will be a committee of the whole. And then the next one will be a council session.
Do you need Wi-Fi in the place? Yes.
Ideally,
Both?
yes,
But either another?
yes,
Okay.
ideally.
So I think our first council meeting, and I don't want to get confused people, but it's April 3rd. Fifth. Not that Monday.
You're correct, April 3rd.
Thank you. So we're, I would say council April 24th, and we'll have an Indian Brook Burb. If that works for you, if you'll make arrangements with the hall. We could, yeah, tentatively schedule. We just know that the council meeting in April, there may be some, we may have to switch the dates, but we know the location. That's what we're confirming today. All right, and our next council session here is on March 6th at 2, and we have a couple of things on that day, correct?
Yeah, so budget will be starting earlier, committee of the whole. And then you're talking presentations? Is that what you're talking?
For the name change?
No, you're saying we have a couple of things on that day?
Oh,
You're
I
saying
just meant the
center.
budget and,
Okay.
yeah, just other items that are scheduled. Yep. All right. So we're all clear. Thank you very much. I just want to remind council, we have to reconvene an in-camera session for a few minutes, and then we will be done for the day. So we just, thank you very much. We have a seconder to move in camera, but seconded by the deputy warden. All in favor? Contrary minded, we'll ask all staff and visitors to clear the room, please.